Today, our fight for survival begins.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Extinction Master Sentinel walkthrough. We're on the 11th mission called Lost Kingdom, and it is a randomly generated mission. We have to kill 3 giants, and the bonus medal for this is killing jackals. So, these missions, the best advice I can give you guys is get the bonuses that you want. Are you good at beating the missions without dying? Then go for the no death one. Are you good at saving civilians? Go for that one. A lot of the times it's good to pick the one that synergizes with what you're doing. So if you're doing something along the lines of killing jackals, then getting a mission that says kill more jackals is not a bad thing. Or if you're saving civilians, then getting one that says save more civilians is also going to help towards it, right? And that's kind of how you want to look at these, because let's face it, these missions are filler. These missions are here to pad the game, to make it seem like it's longer and more interesting than it is, and it's also to give the game an opportunity to deliver its rather slow and specific narrative, and that's pretty much it. But just killing a couple of the dudes here, it looks like got a little bit of slowdown there, perhaps from the capture, perhaps from the game. I'm using a traditional Xbox for this. I don't have an Xbox X. It probably looks a lot better and runs a lot better on the X. There's probably no doubt about that. But it has to be said, guys, the performance only really dies when the big giants hit shit like this. So as you can see, performance just died. That's the only time you will see any kind of frame rate problems. And visually, the game isn't that impressive. The game is rather conservative. It's got a very stylized visuals. Everything about it is kind of, I don't want to say generic, but it is, you know, it's very just traditional. Everything about this game is kind of, you know, nothing really stands out from an artistic style point, but that doesn't make it bad. It just makes it very safe and very specific. And it makes the load times on this game, to me, seem kind of insane. Because for some reason this game loads a lot. It loads for a long time, and I don't know what the loading really. The only thing I can think of is the people who made this game. The game they made before this was a fighting game, right? It was Killer Instinct, I think. They took over Killer Instinct or whatever, or they were there from the beginning. I don't quite know. So maybe they don't have the experience of making a game like this optimized. But suffice to say, the game loads, and I just don't see why. Like, it's not the biggest environments, it's not the most visually impressive game, nothing about this should be that taxing on these machines, and yet it loads a long time. And I know we're kind of in the generation of long load times, it just seems to be the way it is, and until we push past this and perhaps get to the state of PCs where PCs load really quickly if you have, you know, a fast processor, but the consoles of course are limited on this front. But I just can't really understand. See the performance dying again. But the load times are inexcusable in my opinion, because there's nothing really to explain why it loads so long. And you might be thinking that it's overly critical to just, you know, attack the load times, but it matters in a game like this, because for instance, if you're having trouble doing these challenges to get the Master Sentinel, you have to restart a lot, and when you're restarting, it takes a long time to load, and the time it takes to load to get back into the mission is enough time to make you want to stop playing and do something else. And it's one of those cardinal sins of game flow, in my opinion. You can have a very difficult, very demanding structure and requirement from a player, but the moment you put that player into a situation where they are not immediately trying to solve that problem, is time you're giving them and excuses that you're enabling them to build to stop playing your game. And right now in video games, developers are vying for our attention. Every single game is promising the earth, every single game is telling you that it's going to be this and that and everything, and it's going to have all these fancy colours. There are all these addictive systems that are at play, there are all these entire new waves of thought when it comes to how people design video games are 100% being designed from a psychological angle of keeping you playing for longer and keeping you coming back for that dopamine drip. So you can't have those lapses in attention. Those lapses in attention are 100% counterintuitive to what these people are trying to achieve by getting us to play their games and invest our time. So long load times are the easiest way to stop a lot of people from playing a game more than they would want to. And a good example of this is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a game that loads like it's the fucking Witcher. It makes no sense. The game's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but the load times are just astronomically bad. And there are times when I would have played a hell of a lot longer on that game, and I've already played a lot, but I would have played so much more if I didn't have to face those fucking load times all the time. And it's a big thing for some people, not for... Ooh, that was weird. That was a very fast get-off-me slap as well, wasn't it? As I glide away to get some HP back, and the map shows its usefulness by not displaying anything until I'm 2 yards from them, which is not what a map is supposed to do, guys, but whatever. Is this the last person left? Look at him striding towards these buildings to wreak more havoc as I... Oh, am I looking for... Yeah, I'm assuming one of the mission objectives is to kill jackals. So this is definitely a good example of a problem with this game. So, whenever the mission is to kill jackals, it can be legitimately taxing to find them, because the map only populates them at specific moments in specific ways, and if you don't understand this, you can end up finishing missions and getting the objective done, and you will fail the side objective because you didn't kill enough scrubs. And it can lead to you getting stepped on, it can lead to you putting yourself in bad places, it can lead to a lot of bad things, and it's just because the game doesn't flow right. Like, it's very strange. So the places where they like to populate them is if you go near any crystals, oftentimes they will populate them near the crystals. They like to populate them on the rooftop crystals a lot, and then they like to populate them on the ground in certain areas that are close to, I would say, points of interest. So it's best, you'll notice why I'm running instead of jumping. The fastest way to move in this game is by using super jumps and glides, so whenever I run on the ground it's because I'm trying to spawn more jackals. But at the moment I'm having trouble because they're just not coming, and a lot of the times the game will spawn jackals near the big giants, so if you stay by their feet they'll turn up by their feet. Later on in the game, when the vultures are a bit more plentiful, they'll spawn those guys on top of the giants, but you can't rely on any of these things because it's seemingly random. And the final mission of the game is the hardest mission in the game because you have to kill 25 jackals on a map that isn't populating jackals very frequently, and it could be easily remedied by making sure that whenever you're on the shoulders of one of the Reveni, that you always have 2 or 3 of the vultures up there with you, and that would just make it perfect. And it'd make it perfect for a few reasons. Not only can you build rune energy off the vultures, but if you fall off the giant, you can hook back to the vultures and get back on him, which is really, really useful. And then on top of that, you can do those tertiary objectives. But once again, the game really screams of like not realizing that the systems didn't work so great. And there's a really bad example of it that you're going to see in this game. Whenever the vultures do a distance attack where they fire the fireball, the geometry of their body dysmorphs because the rigging is weird on the animation, and it streaks their skin like a stepladder across the screen, and it looks horrendous. And I spotted it immediately because it looked like my University 3D work when I rigged my characters wrong. So you immediately see it if you've ever modelled, and it's horrible. It's like the first mistake any beginner makes, and it's in the fucking game, the final game. I don't get it.